2 John. Only one chapter, very short, 13 verses. But I think once again, as we look at this, John will continue to reiterate what we looked at in 1 John. Starting in verse 1, it says, the elder, which we would continue to assume is John writing this. Especially after we look at the rest of the verses, it goes right along with what we looked at in 1 John. To the chosen lady and her children, whom I love in the truth, and not I only, but also all who know the truth, because of the truth which lives in us and will be with us forever. Grace and mercy and peace from God the Father and from Jesus Christ, the Father's Son, will be with us in truth and love. So this is basically written to a woman, 2 John, and her children. Some say that it's possibly the church and its members, but I don't think that's really, if you look at it, because if you say it was to the church and its members, what is the church?
People.
The people.
Congregation.
So it'd be kind of hard to say, okay, it's to the church and the members, because the church is the members. So I think this was somebody basically that was very, very special to John. To the chosen lady and her children, whom he loved in the truth. And not I only, but also all who know the truth. If you look there, how many times he mentions truth? If we look at the first 6 verses, we'll see that truth is mentioned 5 times. Do you think it's important? Love is mentioned 4 times. Is it important? I mean, this is in the first 6 verses. And then he also talks about the commands. I command you and the commandments. What did we go through in 1 John? What did it talk about? How do we show love to God? Do you remember?
Keep His commandments.
Keep His commandments. If we don't keep His commandments, are we showing love to God?
No.
Are we showing love to one another? We're not. Once again, he reiterates here, saying that, okay, one of the things here about the children, he loves them in the truth, and not only, but also who know the truth, because of the truth which lives in us and will be with us forever. Verse 4, it was given me great joy to find some of your children walking in the truth, just as the Father commanded us. So he's commending her about her children. They're walking in the truth also. Is it important that we teach our children the things that we do as Christians? Is it important to teach them, to continue that on?
Yes.
If we don't teach, if we just kind of throw them out there and say, hey, I've met a lot of people that they say, yeah, I want to give my children freedom to understand all of the different religions and have them make their choice. Is that a good way to just throw them out there and say, hey, just pick and choose whatever you like? Would that be a good way to do it?
No.
Wouldn't we want to teach them the right way?
Yes.
And how do we know it's the right way? I mean, how do we know?
It's written down.
It's written down, and what are we using? The Bible. We're not using anything else. We're not using anything that was written by man. Now, I have to qualify that. This was written by men, but they were inspired. And this hasn't changed. I think too many people have this idea that, well, the Bible's just a history book and, things have changed. It doesn't apply today. It was written a long time ago, and, there's so many new things out there that we just don't need to, go so solidly with this. Cindy?
Look at what's happening even right now, where that Christian children's camp and all those little girls drowned, and they were taught to believe. And I think that had to at least help them. But even the people in the search and rescue and the parents all said, no, this does not change our faith in God,
Right.
or our love of God. And if you can say that after what happened to those people,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I could say that immediately. I would hope so.
There's...
If the flood took my grandson.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's unthinkable, isn't it? But it happens.
Mm-hmm. There's lots of things that happen in this world that we just do not understand. It's beyond, why would that happen? Why? But yet we are given something here in this book that helps us to get through everything that we will face.
To
Everything.
trust in God anyway. To trust in God because that the little children that were missing, and they're safe with God right now anyway. And if they're taught that, and if they believe that, then I think that changes the way you look at it, maybe a little.
Yep. God works in mysterious ways. So she's raised her children, and it says, it's given me great joy to find some of your children walking in the truth, just as the Father commanded us. And of course, we go back to 1 John. He commands us to walk in the truth. He commands us to follow His commands. He commands us to love. All of these things. So this is just going on this again, kind of reiterating. Roger.
And the children are the future.
Exactly.
The future of the church. I can't remember where I heard this, but somebody was talking about they supported a children's home.
Mm-hmm.
This young girl was baptized and she married a Christian. And they raised, I think, 5 kids, and they all either became preachers or they married preachers.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about,
Perpetuating.
perpetuating the church.
Exactly.
Proliferation. I mean, that was, that's what we should be trying to think about.
And that's the one thing. I mean, we look at the church here. We have Glenn and Libby's 2 kids. That's the future of our church. Right there, those 2. And we think, well, what about more? Well, yeah, what about more? I mean, we're all getting older. Every day. And yes, we still remain consistent in participation and all of that, but we are getting older. And where is the church going to go from here?
If you don't chase the kids, it's going to disappear.
Exactly. I mean, that's what Glenn's doing right now, isn't he? Teaching the kids. I mean, that's important. In the home, in the church, wherever. Because that's what perpetuates a church. But if we don't do that, in the home, in the church, whatever, then what is the future?
Apostasy.
And what is their future?
Exactly. So he's commending her on what she has done. Verse 5, and now, dear lady, I'm not writing you a new command, but one we have had from the beginning. I ask that we love one another, and this is love, that we walk in obedience to His commands. As you have heard from the beginning, His command is that you walk in love. Once again, going over exactly what He did in 1 John. It's not a new command. It's something that's been around. is something that you've been taught. Remember, in the 1 John, he was talking to the church there because what happened? The Gnostics started perpetuating their thoughts, their teachings, and he's trying to show them, hey, you know what this is. And it's the same here today. How many times do we have to continue to go back to the original thing here? Because we can stray from it, can't we? It's pretty easy to stray. We think we've got it under control, but sometimes things happen and we forget. What is it we need to be doing? If we don't love those out there in the world, how are we going to go out there and teach them? How are we going to go out there and teach them the truth? Don't we have to have a love for their soul? I mean, we may not like what they do. There's things in the world that we shouldn't like. But their souls are at stake. If we don't love the souls that are one day going to be in hell, if we don't love them enough to try to save them from that, why are we here? Why are we here tonight? Because that's what we should be doing, is bolstering each other to love more. To have the love for those out there.
Do you have any idea how corrupting college is today?
Yeah.
And if
I mean,
you don't, if you,
the
if you
world
tell-
in general is corrupt. I mean,
But I mean, college is so corrupting. And I'm a former college instructor, and you can pay me to teach again. It's so insane, because it really is. And you have your own truth.
exactly.
So if you're not taught the truth to begin with, then
you're open and susceptible to anything that Satan wants to teach you. From wherever. I mean, from the colleges, from grade schools, from high school, from your neighbors. If you don't have any grounding in the truth, if you don't believe that this is truth, then you're susceptible to anything. Anything out there. And you know what? Satan is going to make it very appealing. Because most of everything that is taught out there is centered around making yourself satisfied. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, whatever will satisfy you, whatever your whim or wish is, that's what Satan is going to put before you.
because it's your truth.
Exactly. Because you own it. You know, it's mine. It's mine. But where does that get you?
Lost.
You ask anyone out there that has money, do they want more? Of course they do. Anybody that works and they get the weekend off, do they want more days off? Of course they do. They want more for themselves. There is nothing that Satan can present to us that is going to make us better. Nothing. He is not going to give us anything that is going to make us better. Only God can do that. And yet so many people want to follow Satan. It's like what I mentioned on Sunday, that broad way that leads to hell. And yet so many people, they don't want to hear something that is going to say, I have to follow this? I have to comply to this? Well, I don't like that. I don't want to be told what to do. As he says, are these commands burdensome? Are they something that's going to weight us down and like, oh man, I can't do this? What does he tell us? They're not.
It's almost like freedom, because it's your choice and the Lutheran Church looks at it differently. It's more of a rejection, but to me, it really is like, I made a decision that I was going to do my best to follow the Bible and to follow what it said. And it's very freeing when you make that choice, and it's like, good, I don't have to sweat this anymore. I know what's right and I know what's wrong.
Because when it says it's not burdensome, we've talked about this before. How do we treat these commands, these things that we need to do? How do we treat them? Do we treat them as we said, another check box, another box to be checked, another box to be checked? Or do we treat them like, I want to do this to please Him. I want to please God by doing this. We can take everything that He has commanded us here to do, and we can make it a burden. We can make it a burden. We can make it a burden being here on Wednesday night, Sunday morning. We can make it a burden observing the Lord's Supper, giving. We can make a burden out of everything. Going into all the world, baptizing them and teaching them. We can make that a burden. Why do we do it? Out of love. And that's what it's telling us here. Once again, it comes back to the love part. Loving the truth, loving His commands, loving one another. If we don't do those things, they will become burdens. And then we've basically defeated ourselves by letting that happen. Paul, you're thinking awfully hard there.
I keep thinking about that phrase, not burdensome.
Mm-hmm.
I think it means more than it not being heavy. What's the opposite of a burden? A blessing.
Blessing. Mm-hmm.
They're not burdensome. They are a means to the blessing, as he's writing about in this second letter to this lady. It's the means of having our fullest reward in the Him.
Mm-hmm.
It's not burdensome.
Right.
This is the means of a blessing.
Mm-hmm. When we partake of the Lord's Supper, is that a blessing? When we get done partaking, how much of a blessing is that? We have been united with Christ in that meal. What a blessing. And remember, we're the only ones that really observe that every first day of the week. Isn't that fantastic? We get that blessing every first day of the week. We get the blessing of giving back to God what He's blessed us with every first day of the week. Do we look at going out into the world and letting our light shine, presenting the gospel, living the example of Christ? Do we look at that as a blessing?
We should.
Because if we don't look at that as a blessing, we just made it into a burden.
I never thought of it that way.
Because it should be a blessing. When we speak to someone on the street, when we say hi to our neighbor, we give them an encouraging word, that should be a blessing. But if we look at it as a burden, we've lost it. We've lost that. That's a good point, Paul, because if they aren't blessings, they become burdens. So as he goes on here in verse 7, many deceivers who do not acknowledge Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh have gone out into the world. He's referring to the Gnostics that he's taught in 1 John. They didn't believe that He came in the flesh. And there's many, as he says, many deceivers. They've gone out into the world. Any such person is the deceiver and the Antichrist. And we talked about that in 1 John. They didn't believe that he came in the flesh, that he was who he said he was. Are there people today that don't believe that Christ was who he said he was?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's people that they don't believe that he was our Savior.
And a lot of them call themselves Christian.
Exactly.
I know a Methodist minister who says that,
Mhm.
that he was just an ordinary man.
Exactly. And he probably calls himself a Christian too. And that's the trouble. And that's what he's getting at here in these verses. Because evidently, as we read there in verse 8, watch out that you do not lose what you have worked for, but that you may be rewarded fully. Anyone who runs ahead and does not continue in the teaching of Christ does not have God. Whoever continues in the teaching has both the Father and the Son. If anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, do not take him into your house or welcome him. Anyone who welcomes him shares in his wicked work. Evidently, he knew this woman well enough that she was a welcoming soul. Whoever needs help. He's giving her a warning here, isn't he? To what? Watch out. There's false teachers out there. Be aware. What does he tell to do? Don't accept them. Let's see.
Do not receive them into your house.
Yeah. Do not receive them into your house or welcome them. Anyone who welcomes him shares in his wicked ways, his wicked work.
So what do you do when you know someone like that? Like this woman, I stopped going to the Methodist church, but I liked her very much.
Mhm.
And if we're supposed to reach out to people, how do we reach out if we don't? Well, I mean, I don't know. Can you do that? Can you say, well, I'm not going to your church and I don't believe what you do? And my own minister had lunch with her to try to talk to her about that.
Well, in this case, from what I've looked at, if they're teaching, you're not to welcome them. What if one of them is in trouble, in need? What do you do? As a Christian, someone in need, what do you do? Do you help them? That's what a Christian should do.
Yeah, that's where it gets tough.
And in doing that, what are you doing?
You could call it fireman.
Exactly. You're teaching them your way. You're teaching them as a Christian.
And if you're not going to listen, then pass them off.
I think a lot of it depends on what their motives are. If they are not open to listening to the truth, then I don't see how you're going to get anywhere with them.
But they may someday.
They may someday, but it may not be through you.
Right.
I think that's the thing. If they're not necessarily teaching it, I think the contact and the example set forth is going to do wonders. Now, like you said, it may not be you, but it may be the combination of you and somebody else that is going to eventually lead them to the truth. If they never come to it, does that mean you failed? Nope. Nope. You did everything that you can. And that's why I think it's important. I think a lot of times people will, because they're different, because they go to another denomination or they have a different belief, it's like, whew, they don't come through the front door. I think we need to be smart about it. Now, if they come to the front door and they say, hey, this is the way, the only way, and you're wrong, then I think you have to make a decision right then. But I've had many of the local elders, young guys, come to the door, and they want to study. Now, some people, their idea is that close the door. Nope, not going to do it. I invite them in. I say, come in. You want to study? Great. And we sit down and we study. And we go using this, not any other extracurricular stuff. We go to this and we look at these things, these truths. And then I leave them with questions. What does it say? How do you interpret that? And then they leave. Many times, that's the last time they show up. Because if they bring this up to the other people over them, they say, don't go back there. Don't go back there. It's unfortunate that when they hear the truth, that they are squashed in looking at it closer. There are a few that do continue to look. They find out the real truth, and they make a decision. I've only had one in the 30-some years that they have come to our door that actually they had to get rid of him because he changed. But they're young and impressionable, and they have somebody over them that basically tells them, you have to believe this way. Don't get any other ideas in your head by somebody else that's told you the truth. That's unfortunate. Now there are some that are just, I mean, you can tell it when they show up there. And it's like, ooh, boy, they're just not going to hear the truth. They've got it in their head that this is what they're going to do and that's it. Those, it's probably best to just say, I'm not interested today, and let the door close. But we have to be open to people to teach that truth. Now these people were specifically pointed out, those that did not acknowledge Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh. And they were considered deceivers. They were considered the Antichrist. A lot of people that show up at your door today don't come out with that, do they? If they did, you would probably slam the door in their face. So, but we have to consider what they were going through at this time. And there were people within that called themselves Christian, within their congregation, that were teaching this way. So he's warning. She's a faithful woman. She's a hospitable woman. But he's warning her. Be aware. Watch out. And basically anyone who welcomes him shares in his wickedness, in his wicked works. That's more or less accepting what they are teaching or whatever, and saying, Godspeed. Go continue to do what you're doing. You can't do that with a false teacher, can you? Someone that is teaching the truth, can we say Godspeed with confidence? Someone that is proclaiming the gospel, we can confidently say Godspeed, can't we? But if they're teaching anything other than the gospel, what's the word say? If anyone teaches anything other than the gospel that we taught to you, remember what Paul was saying? Let them be accursed, eternally condemned.
Do you know how many churches have gone that way?
It's frightening. It's frightening because they still use the Christian name.
That's why we left the Episcopal Church of America in California. We became Anglican. And the Episcopal Church sued us and won in California. And they took everything we owned, everything. And the presiding bishop, who was a woman, and appointed the first gay bishop, who was married and left his wife and children for another man, married the man and then divorced him. We left.
And like you say, the amount of corruption that's out there under the guise of Christianity.
And she's the leader of the Episcopal Church of America.
Right.
She
And
was.
under that guise, how many people are they leading astray? That's the thing. It's all these people that think, well, that's okay. It's progression with time. I mean, we have to be acceptable to all of this stuff, that's going on. Do we? Do we have to be acceptable to that? Remember what I said on Sunday? Narrow and straight is the way. Should we be condemned for being narrow-minded? Because that's what he is, right? Narrow is the way. It's not broad. It's not acceptable to anything that goes. It's not a buffet. It's narrow. And straight. That word straight is not straight. When you're talking of seagoing, there's the straits. It's a narrow way that you can take your ship. It's not broad. There's stuff all along there. You have to go through the straits because that's the only safe way to go with the ship. That's what it means by the straight way. But so many people want to have this broad mindset that, oh, it's okay. Oh, that's all right. We're acceptable to that. I mean, God is love. He'll accept all of that. Does he? When we read in here that is not acceptable, how can we say that it is? That's putting our decision, our opinion, our judgment over God's. We can't do that.
But why have so many churches gone that way? Both in Europe and here.
Because Satan has his hooks in all of them. He makes them feel good because they think that they're doing the right thing.
They think they're being inclusive.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's the big thing.
God would like all to be saved, wouldn't he? That was his whole intention. I would like that all to be saved. But how many did he say was going to be saved?
Very few.
A few. A few. He qualified that, didn't he? That all are not going to be saved. That only a few. But yet Satan wants to say, hey, it's okay. All of you are on the right, it's like the highway to heaven. All roads lead to God. No, they don't. There's one road. There's one stairway. One.
One faith.
One faith. One baptism. One God. All of those ones in Ephesians. The world does not like one. They want many. They don't want just one because there's no choice there, is there? You've taken my choice away when you say there's only one. I want choice.
They call it creedal gymnastics, but it got so bad that the Episcopal Church said that if you didn't believe something in the Nicene Creed, then you could sit down for it. So if you didn't believe that Jesus ascended into heaven, you could sit down on that part of it. And if you didn't believe he was the Son of God, you could sit down on that and then stand up for the things that you believed.
But that's not the way God works, is it? There's one way and only one.
But it's so corrupt and it's in the church.
It is. It is. I'm going to quickly go through because I think Glenn has devotional tonight.
It's
So,
not the church if they are doing that, though.
the what?
I said it's not the church if that's the way they're going.
Exactly, exactly. Because there is only one church, isn't there?
Baptized into one body.
Exactly. And that's the thing we always have to keep in mind. If it's straying from what it says here, they cannot be the church. They cannot. Because he tells us what the church is. And if it's anything different than that, we can be rest assured it is not. We're going to finish up real quick here, Glenn. Verse 12, I have much to write to you, but I do not want to use paper and ink. Instead, I hope to visit you and talk with you face to face, so that our joy may be complete. I'm so glad he put that in there, because social media today has made that face-to-face thing obsolete. He wanted to meet with her face-to-face, not even with pen and ink and paper. He wanted to meet her face-to-face. How important is that? How important is it for us to be here face-to-face? That's the way it was designed, wasn't it, from the beginning? When COVID happened, unfortunately, they got everything all messed up, and people now think that it's okay if we just do a video chat. We do FaceTime on phone. That's okay. We don't get that. That fellowship if we're not face-to-face.
You don't see how the person's reacting.
Exactly. And verse 13, the children of your chosen sister send their greetings. So evidently, this special lady here, the children of her sister, send their greetings also. So they must have been where he was when he wrote this letter. And I'm taking that as they were faithful and in the truth too, because he was with them. Or they were with him. Any questions? And if not, we'll turn this over to Glenn, because I've only given him 10 minutes. But next time we meet will be 3 John, and that once again is a very short one, 13 verses again. But all of these have such a powerful message. I mean, just talking to this one woman here, what we can get out of it. And he continues to hammer it. Truth, love, commands.